December brings with it the allure of introspection. Cold, broody days and long nights cracked by fireplaces and candlelight. Our coffee gets cold between the pages of old books, and afternoon naps carry lucid dreams and fleeting apparitions. It's a quiet chance to look back on the waning year and see how much has changed, how much has remained the same. Goals setting on the shelves in my mind, getting dusty and still out of reach. Random blessings that seem to have fallen on the floor from out of nowhere, still glittering with their newness in the firelight. This time, I looked back too far and fell face first into a memory. Time folds when you look back too long. It stops there. Or maybe it just refuses to follow the rules. It lingers on a singularity trapped inside of a crystal at the center of a rose garden. That one memory. That one pivotal moment that remains as the definition of everything that came before and after it. Without that one thing, we would not be who we are. We treasure this one thing above all others. No one will ever be able to take it away from us. We look at it and we smile. But smiles can lie. And sometimes the lies smile back. This is the source of our madness. In a previous life, I spent years trapped in an enchanted wilderness. A book's worth of self-exile, armed with nothing more than a knife, an axe, and a saw. I wandered the wild for years in a primal state of mind, recklessly in search of answers, resolutions, and closure. I came into the wilderness wounded, damaged, and in pain. A wild animal trapped in the cage of my own mind. There was no medicine for my affliction, no therapist qualified to comment on it, no self-help book to guide the way, no healing faith. Lost was simply lost. I had poured my poison heart into a cup and called it tea. I drank it until the stars blurred and the silence wept. The potion turned me into a violent monster and left me there. Love that exists in memories tastes strange, like sugar laced with goodbye. The drink of that teacup invokes madness, delusions, and fitful dreams of things not based on any version of reality. Things that never happened nor ever will happen. Its anxiety dipped in regret and dusted with powdery pain. I had not only loved, but I had seen what lies beyond all definitions, poems, and paintings of it. There's a state of seamless connection where you feel that you, as an individual, no longer exists as a self. You lose all of the things that define your unique identity. You lose your ego, your pride, your fear. You become so metaphysically entangled with another person that you feel whatever they feel before they tell you the reasons for it, even at great distances. Every moment of every day, your brain doses you with dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, and oxytocin. You wake up even for the most restless sleep, smiling and ready for anything. You've been consumed. And it's not a quiet love. It's excitement, addiction, hunger, passion, and a rush of constant release. And it's just a little bit dangerous. It infuses everything. Colors become more vibrant. Music sounds like perfected glass wind chimes. You can sense the web of life flowing in green tendrils through everything. You can see golden threads of time and intricate webs of choices. Starlight becomes memory. The sun and the moon become tiny but powerful symbols. Sometimes, when you look at the person who has invoked such power in you, you see the air about them shimmer. A flash of rainbow colors as the light around them seems to bend and the space they fill folds over on itself before the universe makes an attempt to correct itself again and hides the shimmer away. And it was a single red rose that became a catalyst for all of this. I lived in that state of being for years. I had created and lived a real-world fairy tale, magic included. It all started with a promise. On the first day of spring, I sent a message to the girl in our story telling her that in 1 year's time, I would deliver to her a single red rose. And I would do this every year for 12 years. And only upon giving her the 12th rose would I tell her why I spent the past 12 years doing it. A full year passed, and during that time I didn't talk to her at all. I went on with my life with no desires, no expectations, no fantasies. I simply counted down the days. On the first day of spring, after the year had passed, I kept my promise. I went to her and I delivered a single red rose. I didn't say a word. I simply walked up, gave her the rose, smiled, and walked out. It was about an hour later when she finally remembered that what I had promised her the year before. She thanked me for the rose, and I told her I would see her again next year. That was how this magic was created. We talked a little bit throughout the year, and when the second first day of spring came around, I once again delivered to her a single red rose. Wrapped around the stem of the second rose was a pure silver locket. She didn't find the locket until I mentioned that it was there hours later. Upon seeing the locket, it brought her to tears. I still asked for nothing in return. I simply said, "I'll see you next year." The magic deepened, and over the course of the following year, so did our friendship and connection. Now she had become aware of what was happening, even if it was beyond reason. It was just an ongoing ritual where nothing was asked for or expected. Nothing was professed or desired. It was something that was just there. And another year had passed. The first day of spring returned, and with the third rose, I wrote her a message in a bottle that was wrapped 7 times with mint green thread, her favorite color. 1 wrap of thread for each year we had known each other. The bottle was corked and sealed with red wax. I told her that it was magic in a bottle, and the magic would stay there so long as she never opened it to read the letter. Yet, if she ever had a really bad day, she could break the seal, and the magic inside would make everything better. But then it would be gone. Months passed, and a really bad day did come. A close friend of hers had died, and in her grief she opened the bottle. Inside was a poem that told her that the magic we shared would remain, and for as long as a single red rose bloomed anywhere in the world, she would never be alone. Time passed, and we grew even closer. Now we talked every day. She would wake me in the middle of the night to video chat with me while she was at work. Every moment and event of our lives we shared with each other, but that was all. There was nothing physical about it. There was only this deepening connection and the anniversary of the rose. The first day of spring came yet again, and with the fourth rose I had written a 300-page leather-bound book of poetry, stories, and all of the reasons that I was in love with her, and yet expected nothing in return. The last chapter of that book gave a prophecy that we would share this fairy tale magic so long as she never betrayed my trust. But the day would come when a single choice she would have to make would either finish the story or end it. The final pages of the book were left empty with the explanation that these pages could only be written by her. The year passed by and winter came before the prophecy came true. While with me almost every moment of every day she was hiding someone else. The betrayal came to light at a Christmas party, and I calmly gave her until sunset to make her choice. In spite of our years together and the story we shared, she chose him. The spell broke. Roses froze solid in ice as if trapped in crystals. Mirrors cracked from side to side and the entire world turned gray. I didn't outwardly react. I simply respected her choice and walked away. This is why I still go out in search of winter-frozen roses during the first snow of the year. It's a reminder of loss that teaches humility, a lesson that all things must end, no matter how beautiful and full of life they still are, but also that moments can be frozen in time. There was no drama, no begging, no anger, no long drawn-out conversation. I was simply gone. Nothing about this was about me, not my dreams, wants, or desires. It was always about hers, and I had to respect that. There was nothing left but silence, just silence, and that's how it ended. I did not talk to her again until the first day of spring arrived. Myself being honor-bound, I still kept my promise and took her a single red rose. And with this rose, I brought with it a goodbye. In order to prove true love exists, I had to sacrifice myself for her version of it with someone else. I had to become truly selfless. And so I did. I had packed all of my belongings, and delivering the rose was my final stop, not only out of town, but out of the area. I gave her a long, gentle hug, said goodbye, and that day I moved over 100 miles away, self-exiled into a wide wilderness, and I wouldn't return again for over a decade. The forest spoke softly at first, but the trees remembered me all too well. Every leaf carried my sins, every root reached for my ankles. The spirits of the forest whispered my name like a secret they wanted to forget. They thought I was lost, but I knew better. This was the only place that reflected my soul. Fractured, vivid, and strangely alive. Tears turn black here. Even sorrow has to adapt to survive. But it isn't the forest that destroys you. It just teaches you how to destroy yourself. Slowly and beautifully. People lost in the wilderness often don't die of an animal attack or exposure. They die of shame. Out there, you are confronted by your true self, not the self that you show family or loved ones, not the self you project onto the world via the internet, but your true, unfiltered self. Most people are ashamed of what they see when that happens. And in that shame, They simply lay down and die. Still, time in the wilderness is a kindness to oneself. Time away from the hum of industrialization and the endless engines of capitalism. Wide open and wild spaces, unplugged and far away from everything humanity has become. Within the emerald forest that I exiled myself to, madness isn't contagious. It was the only thing that kept you breathing. The wilderness allowed for room to go insane, far removed from other people that could be hurt by your pain. The self-exile wasn't to protect myself. It was to protect everyone else from what I had become. Every door I opened there led back to myself, and each version of me looked more broken than the last. Every riddle there is written in pain, and I was running out of answers. So, eventually I stopped asking questions. I studied the flora. I communed with wildlife so intimately that I came to name and care for them on an almost spiritual level. I endured every form of weather nature could produce to entertain me. I witnessed things hidden in glades that no human has the right to witness. Fawns playing with raccoons in the evening sun, mothers tending to their children, predators on the fringe waiting patiently for an opportunity to exploit. I witnessed and studied life in its purest form. I walked between ancient trees so silent it was as if they were keeping secrets from me. I once believed in happily ever after. Here, I believed only in surviving the next chapter. Time has little meaning in the wild. There's no schedule, no time clock, no calendar, no trends, no money, no following, no internet. It's either day or night, and every second carries a ghost of who we were before we stepped foot across the boundary between our old life and this realm in between. The wilderness is a transition where the longer you stay, the more difficult it is to pull away. A whispered lullaby on the breeze is always present, begging you to simply lay down and sleep, right there on the forest floor. No blanket, no shelter, no warmth of a flickering fire. Just lay down, it would whisper, like a lover wanting you to come back to bed. I loved her back so fiercely that even time looked away. Years passed by in a blink. But the memories came in countless never-ending droves, and I still often find myself longing for the endless sea of green and deep dark shadows. I miss my wildlife friends. I miss the mysteries of the forest, and the answers it brings over time by turning you into a creature that acts on primitive instinct more than anything else. Truth is, I'm still as undomesticated and untamed as the wild animals I once sat in meadows with. I'm just quiet inside now, reading to you pages from this journal. During my adventures in the Emerald Forest, I uncovered 4 things that I would bring back with me. 3 of them were stones. 2 of crystal and 1 of a still unidentified metal with a crystalline lattice. The 4th was a strange tetrahedron-shaped object that I found tangled in the roots of an ancient oak tree that had toppled over during a storm. It had taken me nearly a decade to come across these 4 earthly treasures of nature. But with each discovery, something inside me changed. When I returned from the Emerald Forest, I placed one of the crystals within the fork of a tree sapling and spent the next 3 years training the tree to grow around it while at the same time pruning the tree into a human-like form. My notion was that since my heart had been broken, I would simply grow myself another one. And if I should ever fall in love again, I would gift the crystal, now locked inside of its living cage, to whoever it was I fell in love with. The other 2 stones have yet to be used. I'm not sure what they're for yet. Near to this same tree, I placed a golden tetrahedron-shaped object on a podium with a silver holder that reflects sunlight onto it no matter what angle the sun is at. And from the point where the object now rests, I began building an ivy-covered rose garden. In my imagination, this golden triangle is the key to the doorway that separates my pocket dimension from the rest of the world. A physical illustration reminding me to see everything differently than others. And it is one of only 4 treasured objects of my time in the Emerald Forest, so it reminds me of those countless tales as well. That once upon a time, I lived in an enchanted realm, and this was proof that I was there. Tiffin, the surrounding city with all of its real-world history and age-old architecture, is also nearly overgrown with rose bushes of all sorts. You will find them on the Riverwalk, downtown, on campus, down nearly every single side street and even alleyways. My 4 treasures from the Emerald Forest became the seeds of everything that has grown here since. They caused the timelessness of my life to fold over onto itself, and very different tales lived out in very different places to all merge together in the present. And in the twisting and turning of it all, life evolved into something new, something greater than the sum of its parts. As time passed, I almost forgotten the details of the events leading to my self-exile in the wilderness. Or at least I had forgotten the bad parts. I remember the good parts in vibrant detail. Somewhere along the way, the light came in, and I look back on the memory that damaged me on a fundamental level from the perspective of, at least I got to experience that for a little while. For a little while, that was mine. For a little while, I got to hold it in my arms. For a little while, every dream I had ever had came true. For a little while, life was perfect and I was somewhere beyond all definition and description, poem and song about love. I swore to honor that for as long as a single rose still blooms anywhere in the world. And eventually I left the wilderness, that was the metaphor of my being lost in my own mind, bringing my 4 treasures back with me. By the time I returned home, no one here had seen me in 12 years. I left and I didn't look back. I didn't call. I didn't write. I didn't even bother to send a text. I knew nothing of what was happening with my family, and the scraps of information I did get on a holiday or some other event I dismissed. I was really gone, and there was no grave to come visit my ghost at. From my point of view, I was in an entirely different dimension, and I embraced the life I had there, hiding away from the life I once had and in searching for anything that even came close to the same kind of magic I once created. And after many years there, I found not only new magic, but the answers and closure I was looking for as well. It's great stress that triggers evolution. I had adapted and then evolved. When that happened, it was time for me to leave my enchanted emerald forest and return to reality. So, one day, I don't remember which, I simply walked back into town like Rip Van Winkle waking from his long sleep. I was not the same as I was when I left, and today I'm not the same as I was when I was trapped in the Emerald Forest. Tomorrow I probably won't be the same as I am today. That's what causes the pages of this new story to turn. My return brought with it a tension in the air that never leaves, like an incessant vibration. She knows I'm here, and my presence brings with it a nagging regret. To ease this, I promised that I would keep my distance from her, and everything from our story would be locked behind a red door somewhere in our minds. The past is the past, and the old magic is gone. It's just a memory. But on the first day of spring, in spite of no more roses being delivered, we still say happy anniversary to each other and then go back to our separate lives. Which, when you think about it, is insane. How many of your past loves do you do that with? Just because the relationship changes doesn't mean it has to end. But it does take great strength and emotional maturity to achieve that. Strangely enough, I don't feel like a victim of betrayal. I feel like someone who was given the opportunity to learn how to love. And I think I passed the test fairly well, even if it did take me over a decade to heal from the lesson. Magic always has a price. My origin story ends with me being contently aware that I am that one guy. I am not the lover. I am the measurement and the standard by which the lover is held to. I am a danger that no one will ever really be able to live up to or overcome. I leave her with that, and with my blessing. But I also feel like I'm held in a glass case with the words, "Only open in case of emergency." Like the message in a bottle. A new magic contained and sealed away. If ever opened, I'll fix everything simply out of some outdated sense of chivalry. But then the magic of me will be gone. The idea of us ever actually being together again can never happen. Once a spell is broken, it's simply broken. There is no going back. Choices can be forgiven, healed, and even consciously forgotten. Yet they remain a fracture all the same. The love that was is no longer pure, so it will never be what I'm searching for, willing to entertain or pour sands of time into. In this, I have become more than the story that I created, and more than I could ever have achieved on my own. I'm grateful to her for that. And so once a year I honor my gratefulness and wish her a happy first day of spring. That's it. That's all. For my part, I still obsess over the courtly notions of fairy tale love, and I think I had the right story to achieve it all those years ago. I simply chose the wrong girl. And knowing how our lives played out over these years, and what we would become in the process, made me realize that we would have never been happy together. I have zero interest in living the type of life she chose, and in hindsight I'm grateful that that was not the end of me. Or maybe, just maybe, believing that I had it and then losing it offered me more insight to what it actually is. That state of existence that lies beyond all human notions and expressions of true love. Maybe I had to lose that first primordial version of it because feeling that loss is a secret ingredient to making a truer version of it. You're gifted with an appreciation of just how rare it really is, and you won't waste a single moment taking it for granted. This level of love that the gods themselves fight over and wish to attain. You realize how valuable it is, and in the madness of loss, you become aware of exactly what it can do to you if it's ever betrayed by either side. Love can turn gentle men into raging beasts. I'm alone now. I have been for a very long time. Existing between the pages, on the boundary between this and that, recounting and preserving histories, my cities and my own. I see how disconnected people have become, how isolated, just like me. All of us longing for more and wishing we knew what to do to attain some semblance of story. Some of us willing to give anything to become the character in the kind of tale I just recounted. To have just one chance at it. Or even to live the rest of your life knowing that there is at least one person somewhere out there in the world who went that far for you, and in doing so redefined everything you'll ever experience. Even your own memories. But then a voice inside says, that will never be you. No one will ever love you like that. Or we feel like for whatever reason we are not worthy of it. Not worth the effort. Not worth someone's heart. Thinking this way goes back to what I mentioned about why people die in the wilderness. True love doesn't die from choices, acts, or betrayals. It dies of shame. We never attain it because we are no longer willing to try. We no longer believe in magic or in ourselves. Our betrayer becomes ashamed of their choices. We feel ashamed because something lacking in ourselves inspired them to look elsewhere for it. Love dies of shame. Life in the world has worn us down, exhausted our hearts, destroyed our imaginations, crushed our dreams relentlessly, and we feel like we have nothing left to give. We're broken, and in our damage we feel as if no one wants us anyway. So we hide ourselves away and guard the last shards of our hearts because we think those last tiny fragments, sharp as glass, are the only things keeping us alive, even though we cut ourselves with them all the time just to feel something. No one can have them. No one. So you, the listener, self-exile the same as I once did, just to keep your shards. And you have no rose-filled riverside city to go to. They say that the passage of time will heal all wounds, but the greater the loss, the deeper the cut, and the more difficult the process to become whole again. The pain may fade, but the scars serve as a reminder of our suffering and make the bearer all the more resolved never to be wounded again. So as time moves on, we get lost in distractions, act out in frustration, react with aggression, give in to anger. And all the while we plot and plan as we wait to grow stronger. And before we know it, the time passes. We are healed, ready to begin anew. Presently, my focus isn't so much on living out a new epic love story so much as it is building a deep, rich world in which to live such a story out in. Its histories, politics, currencies, mythology, and magics, all while attaining connections, wealth, and influence through public appearances, networking, and philanthropy, while at the same time remaining somewhat secluded in my research work and writing. Volunteering, making donations and investments with high rewards, recognition and returns while keeping a distinct separation between my efforts and my private life. I'm learning, growing stronger, and doing it quietly. How my life has played out and the epic challenges I've faced in it has gifted me with a poise and confidence that is no longer untempered, brash, and cocky. I purposely and remain consciously aware of how I carry myself, how I walk with an air of authority, focused on a single point ahead as if on some important task, all the time, even when I'm not. I pause my speaking. I always count in my head between 3 and 5 before I respond to anyone, as if weighing my words while holding eye contact with them. I already know what I'm going to say. It often isn't what you say that makes the impact. It's how you say it. That short counting pause makes one seem far more intense than they really are. And every word you choose to speak does actually matter. I shake the hand of any man I meet, even if I don't like him or I know that he doesn't like me. This is a dignity and it presents a warrior's sense of honor which can make one appear respectfully dangerous. Offering your hand to an enemy is a show of strength and character which can often be enough to change their minds, or at the very least make them reconsider their tactics. I've adopted a very outdated code of chivalry that is only good for first impressions. On a recent business meeting, a group of us had gathered in a lobby with limited seating. I was the only man in the room to stand up and offer my seat to one of the ladies while the rest of them stared blankly at their phones. After offering her my seat, I purposely stood straight with my shoulders back and chest out near the door like some sentinel or security guard towering over everyone else in the room, who were all sitting. I did not have my phone out. I just stood like a statue watching the door to the meeting room where we were all about to go into. The impression held sway. I hold the door for the ladies, address people around me as ma'am or sir, speak with everyone I meet as if I've known them since childhood. I try to be the first to answer group questions with knowledge and a matter-of-fact tone. I'm always ahead of the group as if I am one leading, even when I'm not. I never follow the crowd. I walk a few steps ahead of groups of people, setting the pace front and center. I lead, you follow. At the same time, I can most often be seen sitting alone, quiet and reserved, not part of any group. I purposely do not look at my phone unless it's necessary. I never want to present myself as one of the people infected by the social media doom-scrolling virus. If anything, I'll look at the floor instead as if contemplating some life philosophy in an almost detached and cold manner. I focus on self-care and being self-aware. I consider how I'm presenting myself in every moment another person is around, whether I have dealings with them or not. I am a man who is acutely aware of what I've become, what I've done, what my life has evolved me into. I keep my online presence and my offline life separate. Throughout my 3-channel YouTube saga, I've made both loyal friends who would defend me to the ends of the earth and rabid enemies who are always waiting to exploit some nugget of information that might slip out. Attacking me directly never worked out in their favor, so they watch and they wait for the opportunity to go after those close to me. I always keep the main characters of my life off the board and out of sight. It protects them, protects what we share, and offers my would-be enemies factors that they will never be able to see. Those I interact with the most offline have no idea about my online presence or the complex story I've been telling for over a decade now. This makes me a man with a secret, and I admittedly enjoy retaining that air of mystery when I disappear for a day or two to film these videos or handwriting these stories in this journal before reading them back to you. Of course, a few of the locals have already become aware of Secret Life due to the histories I recount here, and I'm grateful for their presence, participation, letters, and discretion. My heart was broken long ago, and so I simply grew myself another. Many years ago, from an island that lies deep in a river gorge at the center of an enchanted wood, I retrieved a crystal and I placed it in the crux of a tree at the center of a rose garden. There it grew for 3 years before I took the heart-shaped thing from the tree, placed it within a glass case, and hid it away. Throughout the process of creating this living art project, the only thing that I learned was a deep patience when considering things I do not control. I tended to the heart almost every single day, cleaning, wrapping, weaving, pruning, and protecting. The object was a representation, a physical illustration of what was happening to me on an emotional, spiritual, and mental level. I reflected on my lost love and the stories I had lived out since, while it grew silently in the garden. And over the years, all of those tales began to fade as light of this new one and its potential began to take shape. This is my heart, and it's the last one I will ever have. Such a thing can only be created once. Any other attempt would simply be a cheap copy of the original. This crystal heart is the key to my city. All that I have built and acquired, everything I've become, everything that I've learned along the way. It's the last of my magic. I wander the world through time and history, bending and guiding the future with gentle, unfelt nudges, watching and waiting to see if anyone out there has a shimmer, a vibration in their aura, a presence that bends the light about them in rainbow ripples. Some proof that they, like me, are not really of this world, that a part of them at least is somewhere in between, wishing and longing for something more, something unreal, something from a dream. A stranger that somehow looks familiar, like we knew each other in another life. A sense of familiarity, of knowing them without knowing them. A comfort that just seems natural and fitting. A hint of trust, safety, excitement, but also completion. Someone who feels like a missing piece. Like you finally made it home. In turn, and more importantly, I feel the same way about them. They, like me, have known both love and loss. That they have been hurt before and felt up until this one moment that they would never be whole again. That a deep and hidden part of them has always felt alone, until this one chance encounter. When we look at each other, there is simply a knowing, and in that knowing comes a story. An adventurous exploration to see if this first impression is true, or simply wishful thinking. Someone who may be worthy of the crystal heart and all that comes with it. Someone who will dare to see past the beast in search of an enchanted rose. Until then, life goes on. There is a kingdom to run and a realm to tend to. Value to obtain and something more to offer. A place to go, already built and ready to be explored. A vibrant life ready to be shared with comfort, security, and rest without a care or worry in the world. Far removed from anything that might bring it harm. I have lived many different lives in many different places. Some good, some evil. I've passed from darkness into light over and over again until I eventually found balance. It still remained very capable of both. I've learned that in every moment a choice exists. We can cling to the past or embrace the inevitability of change and allow a brighter future to unfold before us. We are not made to be alone. Not forever. We're created in pairs, a spark of the divine masculine and divine feminine, a king and his queen. Cursed as their past might have been, the darkness will always have an end. If not in one life, then in the next. What has no end is the story. The story goes on long after we're gone, leading and inspiring new ones into being like parents giving birth to children. Recounting our tales of love imbues us with immortality. So tell your tale, and then write a new one. Fall in love over and over again every day. And if you don't know how, journey to find the way, and the story will simply use you, all that you have ever been or will be, to write itself. Someone out there has been waiting their entire lives for you to show up. When you finally do, simply apologize for being late and let them know that things got complicated along the way. They'll understand the rest without you having to say the word. It happened to them too.
What do you want from me? Why don't you run from me?